So there's a little known secret about radio journalism. It's perhaps my favorite part of the job. When you are working from home and you need to get that crisp, broadcast quality audio that you hear on national airwaves, how do you do it? Well, you build a pillow fort. So I first heard about a reporter using one of these things when I was a brand new intern on the show Radiolab. And we were working with this incredibly talented reporter, Jocelyn Ford. And she was the Asia correspondent to Marketplace at the time. So talented, so good at what she does, so professional. And as she was uploading the draft of her final piece, Jad Abumrad, the host of Radiolab, said, "You know how she records sound?" I said, "No." And he said, "Well, when she's tracking her audio in her noisy Beijing apartment, she's rigged up this kind of contraption that's a hula hoop with blankets duct taped to it that she lowers over herself." And I thought this was the most charming thing in the world. I thought this was totally renegade and kind of MacGyver-y. And while Jocelyn is those things, what I was wrong about was that this was in some way an exception to the rule, because it turns out adult pillow forts are not the exception to radio reporting. They are the rule. As I continued on over the years, I would hear freelancers or reporters or people who weren't in the studio often talking about different techniques they could use, pillows or down comforters, all these things. And I just loved hearing about how people would solve the problem. I didn't know why I loved it so much at first, but over the years I started collecting photos of some of these things. And so just a brief visual tour, before I go on with why I love them so much, of what some of your favorite radio professionals look like when they record their audio from home. Okay. So this, as you can clearly see, is a radio professional under a down comforter on their bed, and this is the basic model. This is the lazy man's home studio. So your head is the tent pole. It is advised to use a headlamp so that you can see your script. And it works great. It actually really insulates all the background noise, but in a nice way, the mattress and the down kind of prevents against echo, and you get this sound that can host a podcast. Only problem is you get hot very quickly. So many people will upgrade to the closet. Jackets provide wonderful insulation. If you want to get real fancy, you drag in a desk. That's a little hard to see, but it's a desk with and then a lamp with a little telltale cord coming out of the closet when you close the door. A flower pot makes a great microphone stand. But then you start to get your real innovators. Mark Bramhill uses an umbrella and a fuzzy blanket when he records audio for his podcast, Welcome to Macintosh. And he gets great sound in there. Check out that podcast. It's really luscious. It sounds really professional. He's too adorable, so I'm just going to show more slides of him. Tally Abacassis, who recently started a podcast about returning to work after 5 years as a stay-at-home mom. It's called First Day Back. She records her audio in her children's Lego tent. When not in use, she qualified. And she gets tremendous sound. Again, that really intimate, and that podcast is so thoughtful and lovely. First Day Back. You should check it out. Ari Shapiro, host of a little thing called All Things Considered. When he's on the road, covering White House press conferences or an Air Force One, records audio in his jacket. There's actually a whole hashtag, Ari Shapiro undercoats. If you want to check out more photos of that, I won't be offended if you stop paying attention. You just look at the hashtag. Okay, but the point is, there is a decent chance when you're listening to your favorite podcast or radio story that the host is under a quilt. That's how I started doing Invisibilia before I had access to a studio. Or a blanket, or a comforter, or inside a closet, maybe with tapestries, or inside a sleeping bag, or underneath a bunk bed with Christmas lights and a beanbag chair stopping just short of a "Parents keep out" sign. So why do I love these things so much? Okay, it is partly their sloppiness. You know, they represent this sort of low bar to entry to getting started in podcasting. All you need is a big idea and a medium-sized pillow. It's partly that you just get to climb back into childhood a couple times a week as part of your day job. It's partly that they're this sort of ode to human innovation. Just look at the range of what the human mind will dream up to this problem of annihilating background noise. But as I've sat with it, I realize it's something else. Our eyes are organs capable of tremendous evil. There are countless studies that show that based on a glance of somebody's face, we will rate them as more hostile, less intelligent, more dangerous, aggressive. We'll even sit further away from them in a room based on one glance. Not that we need any of those studies. We see glaring evidence of it every day in who we rent homes to on Airbnb, one glance, who we hire, who we give pain medicine to, who we elect for president, and who we shoot. If I have any hope for our judgmental species, it would be that we begin to try to mistrust our eyes. That we wait just a second longer, half a second, before we think we understand somebody's story. This is not easy to do. This is the work of ignoring intuition. But until then, we have radio. This space we have invented where we are deprived of our eyes, where we don't get to see any visual information, somebody's hairdo or outfit or skin color or way that they awkwardly stand or stand too aggressively or shiftily look to the side, one of my problems in interviewing. We have to actually wait to hear somebody's story before making it up from a glance. And I think because of this patience, this openness, we end up connecting with all sorts of people that we actually would write off in real life. This is a precious effect. It makes us more open than evolution wired us to be. And I think it's from this place of openness, of a daring tenderness, actually from this place, where we are no longer bodies, no faces, just voices, just souls, actually encountering each other without our fear. That we might begin to experience the kind of empathy so desperately needed to take that rigid-seeming moral arc and bend it a little bit more toward justice. And the pillow fort, in all its hulking, lumpy, quilted glory, is the perfect mascot for just how much, when we are listening to a radio story, we cannot see.